on the holding area for the final race in the BRSCC Mazda MX-5 SuperCup. And the observant viewers amongst you will notice there's a car missing at the front, James Blake Baldwin's car. He's pulled out for the rest of the event. There's some more information around that coming up. We'll find out more around that. So that means Smith is starting on the front row on his own, still in second position. There'll be no one starting on the pole place, but it does give him a clear run into the first corner with the rest of the pack following behind. It's going to be tense. It's going to be exciting. It's over to Andy to take you through all of the action.
Yeah, thanks, Lloyd. Well, we saw James Blake Baldwin with that technical infringement in race 1, and that means he doesn't take the start for race 2. So you're right, Sam Smith has row 1 to himself. Row 2 will still be Patrick Fletcher and Jack Sycamore ahead of Colin Bysouth, and Luke Herbert coming from 6th on the grid. That is now effectively 5th, so that makes his job a bit easier. Simon Baldwin's still there on row 4 alongside James Cousins, with John Langridge and Adam Bessel rounding out the top 10. Then it's Declan Lee and Michael Nibbs who share the 6th row. Martin Plowman back on row 7, hoping to get further than halfway around the first lap this time, with his teammate Braden Fletcher next. Then David Henderson, Martin Tolley, Clyde Powells and Nick Rutter, whilst Alex Miller and Nick Dunn round out the top 20. They are just ahead of Christian White and Simon Fleet. The 12th row is George Grant and Javier Brook, then Matt Pickford and Chris Richardson, Liz Walton and Gary Mitchell, with Duncan Harris at the back. So, James Blake Baldwin, who doesn't ever seem to be far away from controversy, does he? Unfortunately, a non-starter then. Still plenty of potential race winners at the front of the field, though. And Sam Smith, in only his 2nd ever race in the championship, starts from pole and does not get away well. Patrick Fletcher goes up the inside, and to the outside of him goes Jack Sycamore. They're 3 wide for the race lead, down towards turn number 1. Who is going to come out of that on top? You would probably put your money on Fletcher, who had the inside line, and he does come out with the race lead. And I think Sam Smith has held on to 2nd. Yes, he has, ahead of Sycamore. Off wide onto the grass goes Martin Plowman. Welcome to the MX-5 SuperCup, Martin. And Colin Bysouth is off as well. And he was running strongly inside the top 4 or 5. And he's got it all out of shape coming through Charlie's. He's still on the grass, halfway down the park straight. And he will fall right towards the back of the field. That's a real shame for a man who could have been off the podium. And that's Luke Herbert. Luke Herbert, the race 1 winner, is off. There is utter carnage. Matt Pickford has been hit as well. There are cars off everywhere going to the top of the park straight, and one of them was Luke Herbert, who was coming through from 6th. Now, he hadn't made any significant progress at the very start, I don't think, and that had left him in the danger zone going up the hill, and something fairly catastrophic has happened. I think he's carried on, though. I think I just saw his car. I don't think he actually hit anything after he was initially spun. Nick Rutter is off as well and rejoining in the orange 99 car. What a chaotic start to this 2nd race. Well, those who have survived the opening half a lap are arriving at the mountain for the first time. A few of them a bit battered and bruised, but it is Patrick Fletcher that leads. 2nd is Sam Smith. 3rd is Jack Sycamore. And then Simon Baldwin looks as though he's 4th. Remember, Simon didn't finish the first race with some sort of mechanical problem, but the grid for this one is based on the 2nd fastest lap time from qualifying. So a non-finish in race 1 doesn't necessarily have to be the end of your weekend. Oh, mistake made there for John Langridge, I'm afraid. 2 places lost down at the hairpin. One that went through was Michael Nibbs, I noticed. So Michael running strongly in this 2nd race as we all try and catch our breath after an insanely chaotic opening half a lap or so. John Langridge still trying to fight his way back in line there as he comes across the start-finish line. Now, where is Luke Herbert? That's the big question. Well, that's Martin Tolley going through, number 23. Vessel there, the 4 car heads through, and still no sign of Herbert. I'm sure I spotted him rejoining. Oh, John Langridge getting rudely booted out of the way there, going through Charlie's. John Langridge was a 4-time race winner last year on his way to the Mark 1 Championship. 17 podiums though, so although he didn't win as many races as some others, it was his consistency more than anything else that saw him take the championship against some stiff opposition in the Mark 1 series last year too. So there is 55, that is Simon Fleet going through, one of the leading Masters contenders as ever. The leaders, though, getting themselves ever closer together. So Patrick Fletcher then with the lead of the race, and of course Patrick did get his first podium after James Blake Baldwin's exclusion from race number 1, and Sam Smith was on the podium in his first race. That is John Langridge going back ahead of the number 10 car, I think that was, going down into Mansfield, Braden Fletcher. So Fletcher was the one that elbowed his way through at Charlie's, and John Langridge redresses the situation again half a lap later. So the leaders then coming through the Hall bends. There are the leading three, but Simon Baldwin, I would say, is catching this group now. Simon Baldwin, runner-up in the Mark 1 Series in 2016 behind Mr. MX-5 Tom Roach. And Simon Baldwin looking to try and maybe get his first Super Cup podium, possibly ever, certainly for a good few seasons now. On board with 88 then. 88 heading down into the final corner. He's Colin Bysouth as he tries to, like many others, pick his way back through the order. And I can tell you that Gary Mitchell is actually the only driver who didn't complete lap 1. So everybody else who was involved in that incident, let's say, at the top of the Park Straight has been able to continue. 36 comes through, that's David Henderson. Related to Alan Henderson, of course, former champion in the Super Cup as well. Dare I say it, things may be just starting to calm down a little bit. That is Colin Bysouth there on the tail now of Christian White, who was a former Toyota MR2 star. Christian now actually goes to the inside of the car in front of him, so Colin Bysouth tries to slip up the inside. The car that was being overtaken was Alex Miller, number 7, another former podium finisher in the MX-5 Super Series last year. 7 car well prepared, but not quite as quick maybe as those around him. Midfield runners then head through the gooseneck and into Mansfield. Bysouth sees a gap on the inside of Miller. Is he late enough on the brakes? Not quite. He wants to get through because you can see the way that the cars in front are starting to scoot away from him now. He didn't quite get it done into the corner, but he got to the inside of the apex, and I think Bysouth should make it stick going into the mountain. They're still side by side. Look, you can see in the mirror. So Miller does give way. Right, James Cousins is starting to make some noise here. Look, he's closed in on Simon Baldwin now. That's the fight for 4th place going through. Look how close the leading 3 are. Fletcher, Smith and Sycamore. Jack Sycamore got his first podium last year at Anglesey in 2019, and then again knocked on the door of the podium for the rest of the season and never was quite able to get another. He's running 3rd place at the moment. They're just gapping Simon Baldwin slightly as he starts to become more preoccupied with James Cousins, and Sam Smith wants the race win. Both of these drivers, they're looking for their first win in the Super Cup. In fact, all of the top runners really are looking for their first wins in the Super Cup. Declan Lee there most definitely is as well. I don't think there's anyone inside the top 8 or so who's previously won a race in this championship, so we're almost guaranteed to get a new winner. Who is it going to be though? Sam Smith, in only his 2nd race in the championship, started on pole, dropped down to 2nd at the start, and now he's trying to get the lead back again around the outside into Park Corner. Has to be careful though, because the outside line leaves him vulnerable to attack from Jack Sycamore, who sticks his nose on the inside into Chris Curve. The 2 white cars side by side then, as we ride on board with John Langridge, who cannot shake off the attentions of Braden Fletcher, who's a very exciting young driver, younger brother of Kelvin. Oh, spin there for number 26. Which is Duncan Harris, who started at the back of the grid, and he falls now behind Nick Rutter, who was involved in the first lap incident at Park Corner. But yeah, Braden Fletcher, a handy peddler. He's raced VWs, he's raced Mighty Minis as well a few years ago, and was a front runner and race winner in that championship too. So Braden, a very talented driver. Good to have him on board now in the MX-5 Super Cup. John Langridge might not be that glad to see him though, because he's making life difficult for the reigning Mark 1 champion. So what happened at the front then? Well, Sycamore did get 2nd place away from Sam Smith, and that has just allowed Patrick Fletcher maybe to pull away a bit at the head of the field now, but it's not enough for him to break the toe. So I think that they're all going to close back in again halfway around this next lap. Everyone back to Declan Lee though, really nose to tail. So as they come across the start-finish line, that is the top 7 cars in one big group really. And what Patrick Fletcher wants here is for Sam Smith to come back at Jack Sycamore, and for those two to keep on holding each other up. But Sam Smith is a smart driver, and whilst he's new to the Mark 3s, the racing in the Mark 1s is very similar to that. If you let the leader get away, it can be almost oh no, Patrick Fletcher's off! Never mind, Patrick Fletcher throws away the lead of the race, and he was very lucky not to be collected there by Jack Sycamore, and Declan Lee is off as well, so 2 of them off simultaneously, but I think they were separate incidents. They were at opposite ends of that lead group, and Patrick Fletcher just arrived in shot completely out of control. So Sycamore gets the lead. Sam Smith trying to fend off Simon Baldwin now for 2nd place. It's all changed. It's the race that no one wants to win this, isn't it? James Blake Baldwin didn't even turn up on pole position. Sam Smith bogged down from the essentially new pole position, and now Patrick Fletcher, having led the race, he was starting to get away, has spun. He's rejoined just behind this group, so I think he is still down in about 6th position, but a little out of touch with the leaders. There he is, look, just ahead of Michael Nibbs, and I think that's Braden Fletcher now, back ahead of John Langridge too, so it's all shuffling around here. It's a job to know where to look next, isn't it? The lead battle, though, I think is going to get pretty intense now because Jack Sycamore and Sam Smith appear to be very evenly matched, and they no longer really have to work together, do they? Because obviously they haven't got Patrick Fletcher to catch anymore, and they're actually getting away from James Blake Baldwin, James Cousins and Adam Bessel behind them. So this could turn into a two-horse race between the two white cars. There is Patrick Fletcher rejoined just ahead of Michael Nibbs. There is Colin Bysouth, incidentally. He's continuing to make nice progress back through the field. And is that Luke Herbert behind him? Yes, it is. So the number one car has continued undamaged, but of course fell right to the back again. So both of these drivers, like many others, it would seem, are having to work their way back up from lower positions than they ought to be in. Luke Herbert not quite close enough to Colin Bysouth yet to attack into the first corner. There is Braden Fletcher. So he's still behind John Langridge, I think. He's just ahead of David Henderson. Back through Charlie's corner again. Oops, sideways from Martin Tolley, but then Martin Tolley does like to grab a Mazda MX-5 by the scruff of the neck and hurl it around the racetrack, which is what he's doing today. So doing rather well, actually, Martin. Qualified about halfway down the grid, but he stayed out of trouble at the start and has picked up quite a few spots as a result. Towards Chris Kerr. Tolley runs a bit wide there. It's to Steele and Martin. There's a yellow flag there because Jack Sycamore has gone off. I do not believe what I'm seeing in this race. It really is the race that no one wants to win, because from the race lead, Jack Sycamore has made a mistake. Now Sam Smith gets the lead, and they're 3 wide behind because James Cousins in 4th made a mistake at Mansfield, ran wide. Bessel got up the inside of him, and Patrick Fletcher goes past the pair of them. So Patrick Fletcher, Patch, as he's affectionately known by the rest of the motorsport community, is really looking like one of the stronger drivers in the championship this year. He just needs to cut out those little mistakes. He's back to 4th and could still catch the podium runners, especially because we have a safety car. The safety car is out as a result of probably someone else that's thrown themselves at the scenery out on track, and that will bunch them all back together again. So Patrick Fletcher, a bit like we saw from Luke Herbert in race 1 when he took 2nd place just as the safety car came out. Patrick Fletcher couldn't have timed that one much better either, because he had a bit of real estate to try and bridge to catch the leading 3, and that all gets done for him now. What he needs to hope now, though, is that this is quite a short safety car period. We're going on to the last lap, I think, actually. I don't think we're going to have time to restart the race. The reason for the safety car is that Duncan Harris has had his 2nd spin of the race, this time at the top of the gooseneck, and has landed in a perilous position. So that, unfortunately, is going to mean that the race may end under the safety car. The last lap board, I think, had just been shown. Well, that is a shame on a number of counts, because I was quite looking forward to a restart with everyone bunched back together again. You've also got to feel for Jack Sycamore, because had he kept the thing on the island for another half a lap, he will be on for his first ever victory in the championship. As it is, though, Sam Smith, as long as he brings the car back around to the checkered flag without any mechanical problems, he is going to win in his 2nd ever race in the MX-5 SuperCup. And given how competitive the grid is this year, and also given how some other Mark 1 graduates, people like John Langridge, for example, have struggled to find podium pace, Sam Smith's speed this weekend has been especially impressive. Sam qualified 2nd for race 1, he qualified 2nd for race 2, but inherited pole, essentially, with James Blake Baldwin not taking the start. And of course, Sam was 2nd after Blake Baldwin's penalty in race 1, so he is, I reckon, going to come out with the championship lead here, isn't he? Because, of course, Luke Herbert is running... Where is Herbert? Let's just look down the timing screen. Luke Herbert is only 15th, so, yeah, I think Sam Smith, with a 2nd and a 1st, is going to take the championship lead. And if that is not how you announce your arrival in the championship, I can't think of a better way to do so. Sam Smith then a bit lucky maybe in that the 2 drivers that were in front of him threw themselves off the track, but well, I'm saying they threw themselves off the track. We didn't see how either of them started. I think Fletcher's was self-inflicted. We have to assume, since there's no damage on the front of Sam Smith's car, that he didn't get into Jack Sycamore. It's not really the way Sam Smith races either. He's a very clean racer, prides himself on sticking to the rules, and I'm sure that Jack Sycamore will be very quick to correct us if it does turn out that it was contact, but I don't think there was. And a shout out to Simon Baldwin as well here, who has struggled in the past actually to find front running speed in the championship, but another driver that's really made a big leap forward into 2020. He's going to get himself a podium as well. So Simon Baldwin, this is not the order, with all due respect to the drivers on the podium. These are not the 3 drivers I expected to see on the podium in this race, when you had James Blake Baldwin due to start from pole, Luke Herbert near the front as well, John Langridge on the grid, he qualified inside the top 10 too, so but it's a battle of survival sometimes, especially at Cadwell Park. It's very easy to make mistakes here. Very often wet, actually, it seems, when we come to Cadwell, so the dry conditions, maybe people getting a bit giddy in the sunshine, but certainly this second race has been a pretty eventful one, and it's going to be won by a man making his debut in the championship, and it is a driver with some pretty impressive MX-5 racing credentials on his CV already, and Sam Smith it is then that wins round number 2 of the Mazda MX-5 SuperCup from Cadwell Park. Jack Sycamore second, Simon Baldwin third, with Patrick Fletcher off the podium and Adam Bessel in 5th position. There you can see John Langridge down at 11th, Luke Herbert 15th at the flag. He will not be happy, but we don't know exactly how he ended up off the road. Braden Fletcher fell back as well, down to 19th by the end of the race, and so too Martin Plowman down to 23rd, so they must have had some dramas along the way. Nick Rutter and Liz Walton, the last of the classified finishers. Duncan Harris bringing out the late safety car, and Gary Mitchell failing to make it round lap 1.
Sam, that was a great race and a fantastic and well-deserved win.
Yeah, thank you. It's been a while since I've taken a win. It was a good race. It's been a good weekend for us, full stop. First time out in the SuperCup car, so a bit of a learning curve, but we got on top of it pretty fast. So yeah, I couldn't be happier really.
And how different are these to the Mark 1s that you've spent so many years racing?
Yeah, it's so different. I mean, the racing's fundamentally the same. You just have to be a lot smoother with a car. It's just hard getting your head round. It's almost like starting again as a novice, really, going from one car to the other. But you know, we've done a good job preparing the car. Dan, our mechanic for DP Autos, he's prepared the car with Link Motorsport, and the car's been absolutely perfect all weekend. And then BC Cars and Brian Chandler have been amazing with the setup and running it, so giving me a race-winning package all weekend.
And so it has proved. You come in here first weekend with a win. That's not bad. We look forward to seeing you next time out.
Yeah, certainly massively unexpected, but yeah, we'll see what happens next time. Cheers.
Cheers.